Hello and welcome to episode 106 of Relics of Orr, the restarted episode that is making people giggle in the background behind me. I am joined by a fantastic battery of hosts who are confused because this is, in fact, the second time that we've started the show tonight because of technical difficulties, and I'm just bad at things out. The one person whose face I got right the first time, Washed, how are you this week?
Still sick. So, yeah.
Aw,
other than that, I'm great.
Well, it's good to have you here. You have some exciting things to say. It looks like from the show notes.
I think so.
Awesome. Also,
I got my tinfoil hat already.
Fantastic. I have mine around here somewhere. I also have a puppet sitting behind me. Might bring that on the show at some point. But also joining us this evening, who never has a dearth of words, Grybach, how are you?
I'm doing great.
That is fantastic.
We're just gonna keep it short this time. I already thought.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, because we're gonna restart like in.
You had this amazing epilogue, like all planned out. It was fantastic, and then you know.
Kate, how are you this evening?
Hi, Eric. I'm not you anymore. So
no, you are you.
I'm good.
You are you, and I am me. We are all somebody. Isn't that
family?
Like oh, family. Is that it? I don't know the classic like.
Are we really? Did I leave
song.
for literally 10 seconds and we started talking about, you know, Barney or some old song?
Oh, was that Barney? I was going for like a 1960s like drug-driven song.
Right? Yeah.
Welcome to Relics of Orr, guys, a show about Guild Wars 2, generally, and sometimes bunny trails. But we will not bore you with other... Yeah, actually, always bunny trails. Bunny trails are amazing. We're glad to see those of you who have shown up in chat. Always wonderful to see you. And we would also like to thank everyone who responded to our Twitter question, which we'll be getting to later in the show. We asked people, basically, what do they think Scarlet Briar is drilling for? That is a preview for this evening. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about some other things on Twitter. Specifically, the Biconics have Twitter accounts. Have you guys been following this?
No, just Scarlet.
Not really.
It's fantastic. I'm pretty confident that whoever's been writing the dialogue for the Biconics was given the access to their Twitter account, because there is some fantastic back stuff going on between Tammy, Braham, how to pronounce his name, Majorie Delacroix and Casimir are all tweeting at each other, basically trying to organize, like, Taimy's like, I'm gonna go find Scarlet, so it's almost like they're previewing what's gonna happen in the next patch. Because she's like, we need to go find it, take it to Scarlet and fight her. And Majorie and Casimir are like, no, it's too dangerous. We need to escort people out of the city. And Bram is like, I'm just watching people and hitting things as they show up. And he's calling Taimy Tiny. He apparently does not know that her name is Taimy. Like, so Tiny, you should not do this. You are little. It isn't safe. And so they're having this dialogue, and she's like, you guys are a bunch of wet sticks in the mop mud. I don't know.
Yes,
metaphors at that
wet
point.
Noodles.
Wet noodles. There we go. So that's where I was going with it. So there's some fantastic stuff. So you guys need to follow them on Twitter. I will do a hashtag FF at some point. It is absolutely wonderful to get some interesting character feedback without it being necessarily super lore breaking or super important to the lore, so it's quite wonderful. I'm thoroughly enjoying reading their.
I looked at it. Do you know their handles, by the way?
It is. I believe it's like at Majorie something or other. So
okay,
you looked at it.
You can figure that out.
You talk while I look up things.
I was looking at it going, this dialogue is fantastic. If only I didn't have to follow 4 Twitter accounts to find it. Why is it in game? Like, I realize there's some technical constraints, but like the text-based stuff that's not voiced always boggles my mind that it's not in game. Like, you couldn't just like leave a letter on the ground in the dead end or something, or like outside margin. my character would go through Marjorie and Casimir's mailbox. So if there's things going on out of there, we could totally check that.
So is the Seraph going to show up and throw you in jail for reading other people's mail?
Maybe, I don't know. Well, I barge into people's houses all the time. I just, like, there's a problem, better go kill all of the bandits.
Right.
My character's not exactly an upstanding
the problem
citizen.
Is localization?
Well, I don't know if it's localization necessarily, as like they
is
just
on
don't
Twitter
have the
now
time
too. Sorry, got excited.
to voice and write all this stuff and then actually implement it in game before the next patch. But it seems like this kind of stuff that they should be putting in game, and it's still online, and everyone's going, we want this in game, and it's still online.
I feel like a lot of it's a lot more off the cuff than that for at least the Twitter account stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's really planned, and so there's not really. For the most part, not planned.
Oh, what a great
really
marketing
source
strategy.
on that.
I think
I think it's great marketing, but something that's off the cuff and just like random banter between people that are pretending to be other people doesn't really seem like something that would feasibly be in game. And I actually kind of like it being a little bit meta, being out of the game.
It's just kind
random
of funny. Tangent. Do we know that these are run by ArenaNet staff?
We're assuming it's
okay.
It's good enough to where I'm like, I feel like it would be.
Because I miss the days of the player-run Twitter accounts. I don't know if you remember, like, @Menlo or @Aura of the Lich. It's my personal favorite Twitter account.
I think Aura of the Lich is following me.
IRL?
Oh.
No, I mean, like, on Twitter.
Yeah.
That Twitter account.
He's right behind you! So many minions! Actually, he's only got one minion, because... Oh, unless if those corpses underneath your house. No.
We do know for a fact that Scarlet's is, because she's been able to post screenshots and stuff of things that we can't get to, like herself standing above the big old drill looking at the wreck of Lion's Arch. So I would assume that these other ones are
I think,
employee-driven.
Especially with how it's written and everything, I'm going to agree with Grybach. Widechar also mentioned localization. Basically, if they do put it in-game, they have to translate it into all of the different languages. And then they actually have to script a sequence where that happens. So they have to find a good context for it. With the Twitter, they have like whatever comm stones they have from the Priory or Order of Whispers. They're just talking at them. They're like, so what's going on, guys? And they have their conversation, and we get privy into it. So I kind of enjoy it. So, there's also a possibility that they are not. Dun, dun, dun. We'll find out. But it's pretty exciting. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, so everyone should check out their Twitter accounts. I will tweet it I will do a retweet from @Relics of Orr. So if you guys follow us, @Relics of Orr, you will be able to follow. Or you can just, like, type in @Relics of Orr, see our latest tweets, and be like, I don't want to follow you guys. That works. One thing that is an interesting thing to follow this conversation about following, let's sink in, the Living World Atlas that they just released. I really like it. There are very different opinions in the community, I believe. We're going to start with Wash, because he completely disagrees. It's worse than sliced bread.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Sliced bread is so bad!
My biggest complaint is if this is meant to be like a chronology of what's happened in the living world, it's horrible for that. If you're a new player trying to come in and figure out, hey, what's been going on the last year, you're just randomly clicking and getting information. You don't know what parts of the world to look at. I like the fact that we've gotten some unrevealed like artwork and some really nice screenshots and things like that. I think those are fantastic. But looking at this as a like chronology or a record keeping of the living story, I don't think it does a very good job personally.
Kate, how do you feel about the Atlas?
Kind of similarly, I think I'm more excited about how it could develop. But definitely right now, one of the weak points is it doesn't have any sort of timekeeping. If you open up the library portion of it, it does have all the patches in order, and you can click through all of the stuff associated with that patch, except for the stuff before, like 4 patches ago, which is all lumped into one.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's just the patches related to this arc of the living story, so it's also excluding Super Adventure Box and Labyrinthine Cliffs, I think. I couldn't find them or anything about them on the map, so I was a little bit disappointed because I had been hoping that they would have...
Sab isn't there, I know.
I know the Labyrinthine map, like the map itself is not on it at all, because I looked where Labyrinthine Cliffs...
But there is a dot to click on.
Yeah, but it's in Lion's Arch, which is confusing.
There's a Bazaar of the Four Winds one, yeah. It just has the picture of the bazaar itself, but it is there. It's kind of weird, though, because the part of the map is grayed out, but it's just to the right of Crucible of Eternity.
Oh, okay. I'll have to take another look at that then. But yeah, good. Then that's there. I really wanted more stuff from Bazaar of the Four Winds because that was my favorite patch, and I think it was just the concept art, so I was a little bit disappointed. But yeah, I think it has definite potential, especially as we start going forward to be a tool to document the kind of stuff that we find. And I hope that there are more usage of it, that'll make it better. Once there's more stuff to do and more cataloging in a chronological order, it'll be better.
Grybok,
it's a good springboard.
Grybok, how do you feel about it? Or how would you like to see it develop?
Yeah, I guess I kind of feel the same as Kate. I don't really know exactly what their goal is with it, and like many other things that we've talked about, sort of the problem is, once again, all this information is not in-game, where the players who it would potentially be the most useful for would ever find it, because it's kind of one of those things where, you know, for the most part, if you're really paying attention to all their websites and all their tweets and all their Facebook posts and all that stuff, you already know what's going on. And if you don't, then you won't see this in the first place, kind of like a lot of those lore stories that we got. And I will say that they put Scarlet's backstory finally into game, which was great.
Yeah.
And I find it a little bit... I see some great potential with it, but it would have to be in-game, and it still doesn't address the fundamental problem that it kind of doesn't really do the experience justice, and I do think that there's definitely some portion of the population that have quit the game and feel intimidated or like they've lost out on all the content that's happened since they quit, and since they can't re-experience it, it kind of is a write-off. And I feel like the ultimately coolest thing that you could do would be to incorporate this in-game into like a toggle on your map, and then have bonus mission pack style mini missions of the content after the fact in those locations. So not everything that happened, but some of the story instances that were on the world, and you can use this atlas to look around and follow the living story that's happened. And I could see that, and that could be really neat, but that's completely not what it is right now, and I don't know if that's, I don't really know exactly where they're going with it. And like you guys said, some of the detail is sort of missing to really do some of these patches justice. And, again, I mean, it's kind of a short... Like, you can go on Guild Wars 2 Wiki and find out more information about what happened during these patches. So, yeah, I don't know. It
seems redundant.
It has me
almost.
interested. It does. Yeah. It has me interested in terms of things that I could imagine doing with a similar idea. But, yeah. I don't know.
I think it's very much designed with Season 2, or, whatever the follow-up is going to be, in mind, rather than making sure it's a perfect resource for Season 1 at the moment.
Yeah, and I agree with what Canadian Mathlete said in the chat. He said he read a comment that someone said it's almost like we shouldn't even be seeing this yet. Like there's not really quite enough meat or content yet there to justify its existence quite yet.
I kind of like it as a framework, and getting it out there and getting us used. I would like the library to be more detailed and maybe have links to the wiki article. I think that would be fantastic. One of the things that I do realize, though, is that it's much harder to get the atlas into the game than it is to get it on a web page. They have an entire team devoted to web development. They actually have people that do that. Grybok as a coder. Oh, Grybok the coder is disagreeing.
The trading post, as far as I understand it, is basically a web service.
Yep. It is.
Like, it is a website. You get 503 errors when it goes down. Like,
and you can actually access it from outside of the game.
And you can access it from outside. That is why you couldn't preview for the longest time, at least is my understanding, is because it was basically pulling up a website window of only the trading post in Guild Wars 2. And since it was a website, they had no way of interacting with it. And obviously they've cross-coded it, but...
so they actually already have a way of displaying web pages in-game.
As far as I know. I mean, I could be full of BS, but it's, you know.
We get some verification on that wide chart?
Yeah, exactly. And the /wiki is another way of. There's already a command in game that'll you can access.
But that does open an actual web page. That pulls you out of the
game.
So
could they?
It does.
Could they do stuff like? Could you find a conversation in game and then it's recorded on the atlas for you in your library to keep? Is that a way they could do like collectibles? So if you go and find this conversation out in the world, your character has been there, and then it goes into your library.
That'd be cool.
Is that a kind of integration they could do?
Maybe. We just got distracted by wide
That's actually, by the way, I think you're laughing at the fact that he said awesomium. It is actually a Chrome web render.
So they could actually...
He's not making that up.
Yeah.
He's not making that up as unobtainium or something.
Oh, that's an actual thing.
That's an actual thing. I could tell by your reaction that you thought it was.
I was wow, thanks. That's like a non-answer. It runs on awesomium. It's like, well, that's great. I'm glad that it runs on awesome, but it's an actual thing.
No, it's an actual thing. Sorry, I kind of cut Kate off, but I could already see Eric's wheels turning.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Wide Chart. You just made my evening. That was hilarious. Okay, so it does actually run on a Chrome-based renderer, like Google Chrome. Right. That's very cool. So they could start importing web pages into the game. Now that would be an interesting way to deliver the books, which they've been talking about having difficulty with.
Yeah.
Although,
ooh.
I don't know. Who knows? So that, interesting. So that actually negates a lot of my arguments, like why it should be on the web page. Because, man, imagine if you we're just web developers for a web game. Web is in the game, and it becomes like webception, an online thing inside of an online game. Anyways.
For the type of thing I was talking about, there would be a little bit of extra work if you wanted to incorporate some sort of warping technology or anything like that. Intercross that with the map. To be able to warp to the story instance. I mean, yeah, that would obviously take more than just showing the web page, but they have the ability to. Yeah. Anyway, I think.
We are not putting Lusty Argonian Maid in Guild Wars 2 Perkysaurus. No. Just play any Elder Scrolls games, guys. You'll run into it at some point.
Okay.
Thank you, cool. Chat room. So, we're going to move on to a bit of lore, actually. Specifically, we are going to try and figure out where Scarlet is getting all of her resources. I have a theory. It's a terrible theory. Actually, it's an awesome theory. So, the theory goes that the fractals of the mists reset constantly, eternally, constantly recreating them. My theory, that since Scarlet is out in the universe, doing her thing, she's out, going to fractals and stuff. She's actually harvesting fractals, and that's how she found the edge of the mists. She was out mining a fractal with all of her guys, and they go in when it starts up, they mine everything out of it, and then they leave as it collapses, and then they go back in when it resets it, and that's how she has infinite.
I mean, or just the mists in general are essentially the essence of creation. I mean, who knows? I mean,
you think about it and it pops into existence. So
sure, or even just discovering edge of the mist areas that are unpopulated and just these crazy floating islands of harvestable junk.
The dredge fractal can be replaced by molten facility people because that's what they're doing.
I don't even care about where she got her resources. The big thing for me is, where is she hiding these things? Remember when she had a base outside of Lion's Arch, and we found it within like a day and raided it. And then there was the one in the Prairie, which is like this big, and the drill is like this big, roughly. Did no one see that coming?
Portable hole.
Like, where
Bag
did
holding.
it come from?
Have you guys ever read Animorphs?
The cost of a rune of holding for that would just be...
in Z space,
I
guys.
just don't even have...
The place
It's in
between
hammer
places.
space.
It's in hammer space.
She brought it from Cantha.
Oh, burn. Speaking of Cantha, and backtracking a little bit, I totally tried to cheat and see if there was extra map information in the atlas, and I typed in my own coordinates to see how far it would go, but it was smart and it snapped it to the border that was closest to where I was. So I was like, oh,
I like Y chart.
Since I could type it in, I was like, oh, maybe they, who knows? Maybe I'll discover a new island. See? Yeah,
So Y chart's confirmed. She stole the Hermione's bottomless bag.
Oh,
I'm okay with
man.
that.
It's a bag of holding.
That's an
So-
explanation
Exactly.
I'm okay with.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's like a Harry Potter Guild Wars 2 crossover.
There's always a fan
There's
fic
only
crossover.
one thing that we can derive from that. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
So Wash, you actually had you sort of played off of this, and we'll talk. Actually, we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to.
Actually, Canadian athlete said a good one. Tower of Nightmares invisibility.
Yeah, but at the
that's
same
true.
time, Casimir was able to detect and break that.
But
Yeah, not for a while,
look at how
though.
much terrain,
Casper
Yeah.
can't be everywhere.
and look at how much.
She can't be the only good mesmer in the world. I mean, come on now.
Clearly, none of our guys can do it.
The
None of
rest
our
of the
player
good
characters.
mesmers are the rest of the good mesmers are stuck enthralling Logan Thackeray so he can run away from his friends. And
I was going to
True.
say lost in COF somewhere, but
It's-
that
Right?
was...
Yeah.
That's actually why Logan and Jenna have not gotten married yet, because Anise and Jenna are having a mind war for him, along with Naveen. That's why she
Yeah.
actually. We'll talk about that later.
God.
Sadly, Naveen had to retire from Chronicles of Tyria, but so that she can spend more time pursuing Logan Thackeray.
Basically.
Probably not. We'll talk about that more during Cast.
Yeah.
Now, it's been sort of a slow news week, so that's why we're rambling a bit. But we're going to move into our Twitter question. We need like a nice that. Singing pleasantly or just saying, like, Twitter question of the week. Bam! Then it happens. This
That's
week,
exactly
Oh, we need like a
singing
gong
pleasantly.
sound. Like Twitter sound.
Like the Gong Show?
just like the, I'm going to
Like-
get a gong.
Time to be off the show. Come on, we're done. Nope, get out of here.
I totally thought
Anyway.
I was going to take that sentence in a different direction. I don't, yeah. It's what I do. Anyways, so, Twitter question of the week. What is Scarlet drilling for? What do you think she's going to find? Washed is gone. He had to disappear.
Intentionally though.
Intentionally. Because Scarlet found him. We're going to be picked off one at a time. So, we're going to read the Twitter responses first. Do you have them queued up, Kate?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Sorry about that.
What did our followers, or what did our friends on Twitter have to say about what they think?
Well, there were some interesting theories, and there were a lot of like off-the-cuff things. So I'm going to read a mixture of them because there were some fantastic off-the-cuff answers. John J. Ryan, who is one of the writers for ArenaNet, says she's drilling for the city's Rich Fudge Center, which I'm entirely okay with, and I am signing up for the Aether Blades as we speak so that I can get my share of that.
That's amazing. I love that idea. Just hot fudge in the center of the
The
earth.
nougaty center.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-mm.
Now we know why the gods left their homeworld and took the humans, and they're like, we're going to Tyria.
Also why there's a million Skrit in the sewers.
This is my new headcanon.
hmm
I like how you have headcanon. You're like, this is real.
I do. I have all sorts of headcanon. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But I do
Anybody
have all
who's
kinds of
played Mass
headcanon.
Effect has lots of headcanon.
Right.
It's true. Lady Vereen thinks that she's looking for magic, and she's going to wind up draining the bay, which is interesting. Where would all the water go?
Into a cavern
Where
cavity.
she found the
under-
magic.
I suppose that would work.
It's
Hunter,
magic.
Hunter from Hunter's Insight also thinks she's drilling for magic and wants to tap into the magic that the dragons have and become and/or tap the power of the dragons. There's an interesting theory floating around that she wants to become a dragon. Oh, I gotta find the other one.
So basically that theory I had like 5 months ago.
Yeah, the one that Greyback was all on top of it. Oh, I know who it was. Where was it? Okay, at Rune Lockhart says she's drilling for leyline energy to drain the materia of magic. No magic means no dragons and no pale tree. I think this is a fantastic theory, and it's one I haven't heard before, but because everyone's like, oh, she wants the magic to conquer things and to be powerful, but I think it's interesting to come from the perspective of she wants the magic so no one else can be powerful, and when you look at the composition of her alliances and the watch knights and the mechanical aspects of it, it's like she's trying to compensate for being without magic, which is kind of interesting. I liked that theory a lot. Also, Canadian Mathlete thinks she's looking for golden quaggins, and at Sea Squirrel Run thinks she's digging to get out the clog that is blockage from the Mystic Toilet being plugged with all of the crap we've been throwing in trying to get legendaries.
Hey, look, you know what golden quaggins do? They lay golden eggs.
Oh.
I hear
give
that they
me a golden precursor? Because then...
That's even more important, though, because golden quaggins can go anywhere. They can cross any terrain, which means that we can get... It's the only way for us to get to Cantha.
Knights of the Round? Oh, Cantha.
Wow.
Or that, too.
Oh! You're going old
Final
school
Fantasy
there.
VII reference. What up?
It took me a second. I didn't get where you're going at first, but then I understood.
Yes, you're welcome. So there we go. She's looking for golden quaggin. I like that one. So we have a few theories as well. Is that everything off Twitter, Kate?
There were a whole bunch. We cannot possibly read all of them, but thank you for sending us your answers. They were awesome to read. Please do so again in the future.
It was great. I was when I saw John J. Ryan respond, I was like, ah! But then again, we get a response from Widechar every week, though. What are you guys thinking, though? Wash, you actually had a very similar one with the pale tree concept. Oh, wait.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, gotta do it. Wait, what? Are you wearing an elephant? Welcome to Laughcast.
Anyway, Wash, you had a theory, right?
I did have a theory. It was kind of an interesting theory. I don't have any way of proving and or disproving it, so hey, it's a perfect tinfoil hat theory. So my thought is we do know that Scarlet is being influenced by a dragon. I mean, at this point, that's got to be all but confirmed.
Or
and I think that... Really? We're going that route? I think that whatever it is that's influencing her actually is targeting the pale tree, and what she's doing is drilling down into the ley line as a way of getting to the source of the pale tree's magic, and then she's going to inject the miasma directly into the ley line, therefore either corrupting or killing the pale tree. Because we do see pictures of the pale tree all covered in red vines and thorns and things like that in her lair. So it may be that the pale tree is actually the target and not a dragon. IMO. You okay there, Kate?
Sorry, but every time Eric gets up, he's got a different hat on. He's got five hats.
Different hats on, yeah.
And
he
sorry,
missed
I
my
just saw
speech.
all these hats around.
He was
No, I
listening.
was
He had
listening
his
to what you had to
earphones.
say. I just had all these hats, and I was like, I gotta use them. Sorry.
It's interesting that you say that because I just read about, or no, I was watching a Wooden Potatoes video, and he was talking about how the living story didn't really do, or not the living story, the personal story didn't really do a good job of conveying this. But in the final Zaitan fight, by the way, there's spoilers for the Zaitan fight, so don't listen if you haven't done it or whatever.
Wait, does Zaitan die?
It's only been a year and a half, buddy.
Maybe. The
pressing 2. I don't know what
ammunition.
He was trying to do something important and he pulled a Trahernia.
Oh.
He just took a really long nap.
This podcast. Right, so the ammunition they used to kill Zaitan was actually Zaitan's magic converted and poisoned against him.
Really?
And so if they're setting up to do the same sort of thing, it would be interesting to see what poison in the ley lines would do, not only to the pale tree, but to the dragons that are feeding off of them. Just something to think about.
I think we've named the episode, by the way. Headcanon.
Headcanon.
That's like every episode that we have
Right.
tinfoil hats on.
Yeah, except for the fact that like now the chat room's picked it up, so headcanon, it's a thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah.
Grimok, you think pretty much just drilling for magic?
I think drilling for dragons. I've
Dragons.
I mean, I think I said that last week before we
Yeah.
actually had the patch, especially with the Thomanova reactor fractal and talking about the dragon energy and all these ley lines, and you know, she's placed these things along ley lines to find something. Like, so I mean, I guess we could be talking about a prime ley line or like a ley line nexus, or something, or that in general in itself could coincide with a dragon. And last week, you know, I said I think it would be one of the 3 dragons that don't seem to have stuck their head above ground or above water or wherever they're hiding yet. So that poison theory, though, I mean, that could lead towards some speculation towards Mordramoth, I guess. More so than the other dragons.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because in the closing of the Tower of Nightmares cinematic, you specifically see it drilling into the vine and then injecting the antitoxin directly into it, which, I mean, could be foreshadowing into what Scarlet's actually doing with her giant drill, and the fact that she did have an antitoxin injector in her lair.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We'll know next week.
You know,
I'm still gonna say it's Abaddon that's talking to her. She may be waking up a dragon.
No.
Hey, Abaddon Fractal, Scarlet, Bears Eat Beats, Battlestar Galactica.
No, wait. Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm glad, Kate, put your tinfoil hat back on. You're gonna need it. Washed, maybe as well. So they've gone full. ArenaNet's gone full multiverse with it, correct? I mean, we can pretty much agree full multiverse.
The steam creatures.
Yeah, the steam creatures. We've got that. We also know that the dragons are significantly more than sort of what we interact with. We interact with sort of an element of them, but they are at their core magical creatures. They are.
Sure. Well, they consume magic.
They consume magic. They're almost like leyline parasites on some level. But I would not be surprised if the dragons themselves are not in every Tyria. They strike me as being more like a interdimensional parasite.
Oh.
Or
geez.
even more.
So glad I got this thing on.
Yeah, you know, that's why I told you to put this on. So what I'm thinking is that there's one of two things. Either the dragons themselves are just a part of a much larger ecosystem that Scarlet has seen, and that the ley lines are going to give her the power to move into that realm, much like she becomes a god, and that the gods are also a part of this, and that the internal alchemy basically revolves around the massive ecosystem that is not just our Tyria, Northern Shiver Peaks, but also Anvil Rock's Tyria, and all of the other Tyrias. We all exist separate, and yet we are all basically leaves on the tree that is the Tyria multiverse.
Would you say that you're a leaf on the wind?
Oh, wow.
No,
Here we
because
go.
I'm not going to get stabbed through the heart by the stupid, crazy cannibal people. Well, I might be.
That's my bank guild name, you guys.
I'm a leaf on the wind.
Yes.
It's Sylvari, right?
See,
Yeah.
she knows. She
It
knows.
has
And
a
so
leaf,
what
that's
I'm
my
thinking
guild
is,
emblem.
so that's one, that they're just a parasite. Number two is that they are actually manufactured to control the magic on the planet, because whatever is out there that has made them is actually using them as a sort of they're growing universes. They either consume them or they use them for something so much bigger. And so what was happening is we have finally become resistant to the control mechanism that is dragons. But there's finally a species that can stand up to them. And so now we're going to have to deal with something that's going to come in and, like, we have to cull these universes because they're resisting our, we can't eat them if... So we have to deal with these creatures that are bigger and badder. And Scarlet is just the first step in them attempting to cull us.
Jesus. I got nothing. I can't talk about this. I'm done.
You lost me in
Drop
interdimensional
mic.
parasites.
Shongoku out!
Jesus. Yeah, this is coming off.
We're just like, we're done with speculation.
We're done.
We went somewhere. It was a long ways away. We've come back now, and we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more cement, or a little bit more real, or something that's going on. We'll go with that. My linking sentence is terrible here. We're going to talk about the CDI, though, because they recently, on Monday, they opened up all the new CDI topics, which is for those of you that don't know, the Collaborative Development Initiative. And that is, we have 4 topics this time. We have Rangers, we have something about WVW, which you guys probably know, but I don't. We have the evolution of fractals. We have also the ladder system in PvP. So, I'm going to go and do a quick summary of the fractals evolution, just because I know that one, and I figure you guys probably know the other ones better than me. The fractals one is essentially Dredge Fractal is broken. It needs to be fixed.
Cough, agree,
Cool with that. Then it's also, we need more rewards. We need to be rewarded for our accomplishment, either through achievements or through that, and we need more consistency and reward. And so there's a lot of people that are backing up the idea of more uses for fractal relics and pristine fractal relics to be basically done away with and replaced by just a large number of fractals, which I'm cool with. I also decided to throw my hat in the ring, and there's a few other people who have done this that are saying we need scalable raids, essentially. Well, one person was like, we need to be able to run fractals with 3 people. And I was like, I disagree. But actually, it's not necessarily...
It won't be efficient, but you could do it.
I've heard about people running it with 2 at levels, so...
You do have the right to be an attorney.
But will they provide me with one?
Probably not, unless if they introduce heroes, at which point, yes.
Please, God, no.
So that's been one thing. Also, there has been a little bit of talk of saying that they'd like some larger scale raids in fractals. Fractals are an obvious choice for opening up the underworld and other thing. That's what's going on with the Fractals of the Mists. Who has looked at the PvP one, the ladders? Anyone?
I haven't looked at PvP, but I've looked at World vs. World a little bit.
Tell us about World vs. World, and while that's happening, Washed or Grybach is going to desperately look up the PvP one and scan
That's
it
exactly what I'm doing
possible.
right now.
All right, Washed, you get to talk to us about the Rangers.
Oh,
Good luck.
Crap, I can talk about Rangers now. Actually.
Right, okay, so the World vs. World one is about Edge of the Mists and how we can carry over different things we've learned from Edge of the Mists into other aspects of World vs. World. And as best as I can tell, there's not a whole lot of consensus other than the mob AI is pretty much a lot better. There's a lot of different aspects that people are asking for, including one which I find really interesting, the shorter map times and servers being based on groupings rather than just individual servers. Because I don't know if you've been in Edge of the Mist, but it's so much fun to be playing with other people of the same color server rather than the same servers that we've been playing against all of forever because we're stuck in Tier 6 and that's how we roll.
There are buddies,
So,
Our
yeah, I've
buddies
been
that
enjoying
we
playing with
kill.
other people.
Sort of.
Yes. That's the definition of buddies, right?
Yep. Straight up. Best friends. Best friend. So, Washed, I think Canada Mathlete in chat did an excellent job of summarizing the Ranger post. What exact? Is there anything else that you'd like to go into on it? Basically, you said.
Well, and what he basically says is fix pets. Why aren't they listening to the ranger community? A lot of what I'm seeing too, just from my quick look, I mean, besides the pet stuff, is like basically redesign the class. Weapon skills are not interesting. They're inefficient. They have the largest access to poison in the game, but they don't have any traits that actually promote poison usage. Like it's like all over the place. I mean, it is weird. But it looks the majority, the vast 75% of what I'm seeing is pets. Pets are fundamentally broken and need to be fixed.
Yeah, if they're anything, which I know that they are similar to Necropets, they're a little bit smarter than Necropets. I did go on an Ranger rant last week. They do have some issues. So, that's understandable.
Yeah. The Madness Sow says to fix the dodge with the auto attack sword skill, because why is it a root? Like, why are you rooted in place during that animation? It
might be the only auto attack that roots you.
It is. It's the only auto attack that roots, which is why?
That auto attack better be doing like 100 blades level damage if it's.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of warrior longbow is better than the ranger longbow. I mean, right now it's at 11 pages so far.
Yeah,
how long has it been out?
It's been out since Monday.
A day.
Oh, okay.
A day.
Jeez.
It's 11 pages.
It's longer than the Fractal one. By almost double.
Yeah. Looks like Ali Murdoch says that they actually had discussed removing the pet during the initial design of the class, but they felt it was such an integral part of the design philosophy that they decided to keep it. But they might look at some ways to better redesign the pet and its AI. But then she goes on to say that those are big projects.
Yeah. Any AI redesign is pretty.
It's never. Yeah, they're never going to remove it because it's a core class mechanic, and yeah.
It shouldn't be. I mean, it should be there.
I actually have a suggestion. Take all the recommendations that they're making for longbow on the ranger, and put that on the thief longbow. Give the thief a longbow and turn them into the petless ranger.
Okay, I'm sold because I like longbows and I like thieves, but I don't know if you can do that.
Why not? Turn them into the marksman. People have been asking for a marksman type class since the game came out, pretty much. And the thief doesn't fit that bill. The engineer, which was like people thought would, doesn't fit that bill. There's no good marksman aside from the ranger, really. And he's not quite there because of the pet AI. If you gave it to thieves, I think that you could have a very compelling marksman class.
I'll allow it.
Drybach, what do you are you reading more about SPVP? The ladder system.
I'm mostly skimming the PvP thread really quick, but
yeah. So
yeah, I mean it's about making a more marksman archetype. Yeah, there's I feel like that would be a really much more widespread type of project to increase sort of more niche archetypes across multiple classes that don't exist, or that there's lots of those types of things that we could pick on that are not necessarily deficiencies in Guild Wars 2, but would be prime targets that people love, specific types of things like that. I mean, people love classes like Druid or Bard, and like the closest to that is somewhere in between Guardian or Mesmer, but even those are not really the types of ways that those people like to play that. I get like a sword Mesmer, like a sword focused Mesmer is kind of like a Druid in a lot of it, but even then not really. Yeah, see what I mean? Or like a Death Knight, like a debuffing heavy melee, like basically a Necro with a great sword, or like a Guardian that did debuffs instead of boon. I mean, there's all sorts of room that they could take some of those things. So
yes,
So yeah, I mean they could do that with the ranger / thief, but I feel like that it's more like a broad topic discussion rather than just a single band-aid.
I apologize if I'm going to be very distracted from now on tonight. He just described a greatsword wielding necromancer, and I might be just going into my little dream world. I mean, necromancers are really underpowered and terrible in the game, so they really need, like, I know I talked about, you know, how they needed fire to make them the ultimate condition class, and they gave them fire. So I figure that this is just a thing, and yeah, necros need, you know, they need greatsword just to be more awesome than they already are.
The beauty of it would be it would be diversity. It would be a different kind of necromancer altogether.
It's
but
true.
Anyway, that's like completely separate.
I would love that. Actually, just get in there, face roll, get a nice hammer or a dagger or warhorn alt set, and you just swap between greatsword and that, and it's all melee. You got your minions going.
That's the sound that minions make.
That is the sound that my minions make, except
close,
for the one that is like a linebacker, and then you just like. Love my minions. Anyways, this show is not about my minions, even though they're amazing. It is about Guild Wars 2, and there is SPVP in Guild Wars 2. Grybach, what are people talking about on the ladder system?
Okay, so just a quick summary of the topics that were suggested. Is what type of structure would you find interesting for Leagues or Ladders? How long should it last? Or how long should a season last, rather? What would motivate you to play in one? What types of rewards would you like to see? How would a player earn the rewards? How would you encourage players of all skill levels to participate? And yeah, those are sort of the main headline topics that were prompted. And I did a quick little skim through the thread. It looked like the average answer on how long should it last was between 8 and 12 weeks, so 2 to 3 months was the pretty ubiquitous amongst people. How would you, or what types of rewards would you like to see? Was often mixed with what would motivate you to play in one, and those were largely rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Especially unique rewards that you can only get in PvP, which I agree with. Like it, you know, it's I don't PvP really, but I can see why that would be extremely frustrating both for PvP and World v World to basically be like, well, we get the same look as you guys do, but you guys get guaranteed easy ways of getting them, or even hard ways of getting them, but guaranteed. And you know, those are some of them, especially legendaries, are unique to PvE and World v World. You can't even get them in PvP. So I can definitely see where they're coming from on that. And you know, potentially with the introduction of a wardrobe system, I don't know how that would impact the economy if they did start giving unique skins for those. Not at all if they were account bound though. And you know, some things like achievements and you know, gold / karma, those types of things. How would a player earn rewards? There was a lot of answers to the tune of have a season reward, kind of like the World v World meta, but also have a lot of them just be incremental for like just progressing. So you don't necessarily need to get the season reward to get rewarded. You can get rewards along the way, and that sort of goes to how you would earn rewards as well. And I also saw a lot of common answers about wanting to be able to feel both goals and progress, like you were actually seeing progress on your leveling up, or your not your leveling up, but your ranking up, or what you were working for. Yeah, like that you actually see tangible progress, and that you actually have something to work for, and then that you're rewarded for it. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of what you would say for any game, but the fact that kind of still needs to be stated for SPVP kind of is telling on how a lot of people, you know, are frustrated with it. So that was my skim of the whole first page.
That actually, and I skimmed a lot of it. It seemed to be a fairly significant
Oh, so
thing.
you skimmed it and then you just made me do it.
Yeah, I did.
Son of a...
No, I skimmed it earlier today. Yeah, it was. Well, I was like, I want to talk about fractals. I want to talk about the whole. We need raids. We need raids. We need to get like 3 groups to queue together and then go in and just like murder stuff. I've grown more attached to your idea of set number people raids, by the way. Or, not raids, elite fractals. Not afraid.
Yes.
Not a raid arena net, so you don't have to be scared of being like, we're not a WoW clone. It's like because guess what? Your elite
It's
zones
like
at
you're
Guild
going
Wars
to somewhere
1.
like the Underworld or
Yeah.
the Fissure
Or
of Love.
hard mode.
Yeah, that's right. I want to see the Underworld come back, because that, in my opinion, I ran the Underworld the other day with Black and several other people from our guild, and that was... I like it better than any of the WoW raids. Like, they are just... They're interesting. I mean, okay, Old War was amazing, yes.
Old War is fantastic.
Yeah, okay, so compared to, like, the best WoW raid, maybe it's not as good, but it's just, I like the feel of it and the exploration of it, and WoW raids are like, go in this line and kill these bosses. Okay, you did that? Do it again every week for the next 3 weeks. This, it's like, well, okay, well, we're gonna go down to this area today, we're gonna go to this other place. And I just liked that. Fantastic. So, I would really like to see some form of that in Fractal. Because that would really give us something to do. And the main thing is our guild, we have a bunch of really good players, but there's not many places where they can show it off.
Yeah.
And that's, it's frustrating because they're really good, but yet everything's too easy for them. They're just like, we go in and we tear everything up. And these are the guys who are like, we did naked runs of the Fissure of Woe on hard mode. And it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
With the battery, Necro.
Yeah, bit me.
Oh,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of the sort of sadly disappointing things about Fractals is that I see how much potential it could have for adding all sorts of insane areas that we've never imagined or never seen, or ones that we have, without having to come up with a way that they fit into lore or fit into the geography of the map or fit into the story. Because literally, like the Cliffside Fractal, we don't know what I mean, you know, he's the
we don't know what that thing
friggin'
is.
Colossus. There's like the whole story is
what
that
he
fractal,
is.
and like you can make up whatever you want there, and because that's the whole point. It is the realm of infinite conception.
It's the headcanon zone.
What exactly? It's like the Twilight Zone, but just with headcanon because Twilight's expensive. But
Twilight is so expensive.
You know, I mean, so there's so much potential for things like the Fissure of Woe or the Underworld or you know, the realm of Lissa or something. That's something I always wanted in Guild Wars 1 was like realms of the other gods that could be insane, and especially with the ability to move in three-dimensional space, things like the realm of air for Dwayna or whatever. Like you could have these insane, immense places that are like crazy dungeons or whatever. As soon as they
Alternate
introduce
reality
the concept of being able
Tyrias.
to access the mists, and
I would
We'll go
love to
sliders on
see
this.
an entire fractal based on an alternate reality where we show up in the Steamverse and are like, this is not a fractal. And Des is like, so that's already stable. I think you guys are just in another universe. You should probably figure out a way to get home. Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Right.
like there's so much potential for really neat, high-end content that they don't have to worry about, you know, plotting basically, or they can make up whatever crazy plot they want from any time in
Well,
the
you don't have to worry about
universe.
story or anything like that.
yeah.
I mean, just slap it in there and away you go.
Yeah.
It's easy,
Yeah.
right, White Char?
It doesn't take
Oh.
me.
Bob
love
said
to know
a World v World fractal where Blackgate is bottom tier.
Oh, that would be an alternate reality right there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's definitely got some interesting potential, and so I'm looking forward to seeing where the CDI goes, and hopefully it will go somewhere wonderful that we will eventually see in like 6 months.
Yeah.
But something that we're not going to see in 6 months is a Burning Lion's Arch, or will we? We've been living in the Escape from Lion's Arch for a week now. We have faced the horrors of the toxic worm and various other monstrosities. We have seen Evan Nashblade be a horrific jerk to people. We have seen
I still vote
Ellen
for it.
Keel use
Yeah,
her
me too.
airship and various other things. It's been an exciting time in there. Once you've seen a lot of the stuff. You guys think it's still holding up now a week in?
I do. I'll speak up. I think it's it depends on the type of player you are. There's some players that were immediately uninterested in it. I think it was Tillian on Dragon Season said he doesn't find these Zergy content patches to be interesting at all. And that's fine. And there's patches that don't. There's a lot of people that don't like the Super Adventure Box because they don't have the nostalgia. Exactly, they don't feel the nostalgia, or they don't like the jumping puzzle portion of it, or whatever. It doesn't matter. So there's always going to be people that don't like the content. But if you do like this kind of content, if you like the content like is here, if you like the content like was in Queen's Jubilee, those the invasions, the invasions were similar. These feel like a really refined version of invasions because the map size is smaller and it's easier to actually know where you are because you've been around Lion's Arch a million times, and so you know where you're going. I think it's the best Zerg content we've gotten so far. Because it's got this crazy mob density like we had in Queen's Gauntlet, but it actually has a little bit more stability, or not stability, but like a little bit more plotting, a little bit better spacing, things like that. Because Queen's Gauntlet was just a pie.
The circle of murder. It's the circle of murder.
So I've definitely fallen off a little bit on it after I got the meta, but and largely it's been because I've been really busy in real life. But I've still been carving out at least one event a night. So I think it's definitely holding up. I've got a few things that we can talk about a little bit later, but just for the initial, how's it holding up? I think it's doing pretty well for the people that are into it.
I kind of disagree. So, in terms of Zerg content, it's fairly good, but there's the problem that, well, first of all, there's the problem that the content wasn't designed to be Zerged. Like, the goal of the map, well, don't give me that look. The goal of the map, the goal of the map is to spread out and get 1,200 citizens. Really? You can't do that in a Zerg, and you only rescue like 5 citizens per event completed. So if you're Zerging it, you're doing the objective wrong.
Yep.
There's some of both.
Yeah, I guess.
3 very clear confluxes of where tons of events spawn, and not just the Traders Forum. All 3 of them have they have escort events, they have miasma events, they have defend events, and they're all 3 in those 3 areas, which are conveniently right next to the entrances of the zones and right next to the waypoints that are the only waypoints you can access. It is absolutely meant to have Zerging. It is not meant to only be Zerged, though. And those are definitely some of the problems that I was talking about.
That's the player's problem right there.
The interesting thing that... Oh, go ahead.
I just have one more thing. Zerg content is okay, but we've seen it so many times now. Like, when the Living Story started, right, we got this crazy diversity of content. One of the things I was saying in the Living Story is, look, there's going to be patches you don't like, but, 2-3 patches from now, there's going to be something that's going to be perfect for you. There's going to be, like, small group content or PvP or a World versus World update, and we've got this consistent Zerg patch for the last, 3-4 rounds, which is getting kind of really old.
It's not necessarily true. We just got a massive WV patch that has some fantastic content.
And I would say that is the first one that has been any kind of different.
In a while.
Yeah. What about Winter's Day and Halloween?
True. Oh, what's
content?
up? Well,
those are not.
So since December and October? Yeah, which were recycled from years past.
Well, it's only been.
No, I understand that, but those are still months that those are still months that happen.
I guess
those are some months that people like.
But do you actually count that as a living story?
Yes.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened this Winter's Day. There was no story advancement.
But that has nothing to do with Scarlet.
There was.
The question is whether you're talking.
The
question about is whether or not you're talking about story advancement or new content to do something different than exploring Tyria with no patches at all. And when I consider living story, I don't consider the Fractals of the Mist to be living story. I mean, yeah, it had a little bit of living story, but in my mind, living story is the name that they have put on the 2-week release cycle. Mm-hmm. And so anytime we get anytime we get something that changes Tyria for 2 to 4 weeks, I'm considering that a living story patch. Whether it's new content like that isn't recycled at all is a different question, but it definitely breaks up the flow of the game because before the living story really kicked in, that was a huge complaint that people had is I've explored the world, I've done all the missions, I've done all the dungeons, and I have nothing left to do because nothing is changing. And so I mean I see what you're saying though. We have had a lot of Zergy patches.
I do like actually though that they do have the additional things to do in the actual. You can contribute without joining the Zerg. In fact, you may not get the rewards. Yes, the rewards go with the Zerg, as is always. But
That's a problem.
Well, it's hard to do the rewards without the Zerg because of just efficiency of death. Basically, if you kill stuff faster, you get more rewards. And if you're in a Zerg, that's going to happen. What I like is that there is something to do if you're running with the Zerg for a while, and then you feel like, you know what, I feel like running with the Zerg right now. Because I get into places where I'm like, you know what, the Zerg's cool, but I'm going to go save all of those villagers over there that they just ignored, and I'm going to be like, go Shongaku, you saved those digital people. But no Skrit. That is something that I'm sad about. I have not saved a single... Oh.
They got it.
They got out.
Rats desert a sinking ship. Oh. What is Lion's Arch if not a giant ship?
So there we go. So
the best day.
There we go. So that's where the Skrit are. So well, the Skrit are gone. I wonder where they went.
They took the pledge and went to Skritsburg.
I really hope that there's like a filler patch in like April that is just like the story of the Skrit. And they just go off on an adventure. And like you show up and you're like, why are there so many Skrit in Matrika province? And they're like, we're going through this portal up in the north. And they're like, here's a new zone, and the Skrit are settling in, and we're helping them, and they're all really smart because there's like 5 billion of them. And we get a new zone, and we get to explore with Skrit. And the Skrit set up a new trading post, because this one is burned to the ground.
Random aside, did you notice that the trading post suddenly gained glass windows when it broke? Because I was going, hey, this is where I always jumped out of the water. Oh, there's glass here now.
Yeah.
So an evil plot by Scarlet to make it harder for you to navigate through the
Gosh dang it, Scarlet, with your beautiful glass windows.
But, I mean, I guess, so I think the point that Kate was trying to touch on, though, and, I wrote this in the show notes as a separate talking point, is that, Eric and some other people have said that they liked the ability to do other content other than Zerg content in these patches, but the problem is that it feels like it's designed for everybody to be doing things like rescuing citizens, which, Kate pointed out, but not only does that reward you for garbage if you're doing it individually, like you get no reward.
They should give you a bag for every single one you get out the door.
Yeah, that was where I was going to lead it. Is
Sorry.
There's no there's no reward unless unless you get enough people being completely selfless, and then their reward is the reward that is given to everybody who did it or didn't do it, rather, everybody in the whole zone. And so that is the frustrating thing, is that it's, while there are things for you to do, like, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot to do them unless other people are doing them as well. And so I guess I would pose that question to each of you, like, how would you, because I think fundamentally it's not a problematic design to have some Zerg content but also have things that you break out of the Zerg to do, or maneuver the Zerg to actually, like, kill the things that are killing the NPCs that are trying to escape, all those things. So how would you guys, like, change things to make it so that there's sort of a balance between Zerging, but Zerging towards citizens, so that or rewarding people that just want to be doing citizens and rubble and all those types of things.
The difficulty is finding balance in that, obviously, because
sure,
if it's more rewarding to do the solo content, all of a sudden people are going to be angry when someone's like coming up and like impringing on their solo content. So you almost have to argue that the Zerg should always be more profitable on some level.
It's pretty hard to beat Zerg rewards, though. Like,
right.
They'd have to be pretty profitable.
I would like to see something, like them giving you a token or something that you can turn in when you save them. and giving you basically little things that you can do there. So that, if someone's running around going, I save you, like, you talk to them, they get it out, and they hand you a bag. Or they mail you a bag. And you just get, your mail gets full. That would not. A tally, a personal tally of how many citizens you've gotten out the door. Because, you have to go and cheer them and res them and that
It gives you extra bags.
And you get bags in the mail from, like, they're like, you saved all of
just
us.
A bonus
we
chest.
put up a collection. Well, I like the idea of, like, getting a mail, and it's like, we put up a collection for you. Here's, like, 30 bags, and you're like,
there's so much mail in this game, though.
I like mail, though. That's, like, something I enjoy about this game. I'm like, I got mail! Someone that's not real likes me.
I wish that there was a way of keeping them or like organizing them, because otherwise your mailbox just clutters up with stuff. And I would like to have it cataloged in a way that I could go back to it and be like, oh yeah, Casimir was like, you need to come do this, and then I took down the invisible tower, or she did, but I was there.
I helped, kind of.
So what would you do, Kate? Do you have any ideas on like how you'd be able to balance out the rewards for actually rescuing citizens? Like,
maybe for citizens rescued, you get mob drops. So like if you escort a citizen and it makes it out the door. We talked about this pre-show, actually. I don't think we mentioned it during the show, but they have the technology to do a cap field around an NPC, and then you get credit for being in that field. So that's a way you could do an escort with rewards attached to it. Like, you finish the event and then you get a chest with the loot kind of equivalent to what you would do if you were fighting mobs, but you can take a pacifist or like a rescue route to do so. As for balancing it, I think that would be really hard, but I do think there are ways of assigning credit to escort and defense type stuff, and it needs to be more prevalent.
Yeah, I fully agree with Kate, and the fact that support in this game is not rewarding. Like, if you're at an event and you stop to res a player, you risk the potential for getting the highest level of achievement on that event because you weren't doing the maximum amount. It's like, but I was still helping, I was still participating in the event by resing this player, but I don't get credit for that. And I don't know how they would track that per se. I mean, I like the idea of the capture point type system where, they walk towards the exit and you just have to escort them like you're supposed to be doing anyway.
Isn't that kind of how that works? If you're resing players in the event area and that sort of thing, that counts towards the event, towards your event participation.
Nope. No, because I've been in events since the moment they started and stopped to res players and gotten silver or bronze reward, even though I did nothing but DPS the rest of the time.
Wow.
And that's the only thing I can attribute it to, is stopping to res players.
I think we talked about this pre-show as well, but the escort quests, especially in Lion's Arch, the NPCs move so fast that the mobs are behind you by the time like you're running with the NPCs. So if you're actually keeping the NPC alive, you're not participating in the event, because the mobs that are supposed to be, like, you have to kill a mob to get credit, but the mobs are behind you because you're running with the NPC to keep it alive, and then you get to the end and you don't
like
get
the
credit.
Dryad event. I mean, they don't stop for nothing. They literally just keep running and running and running.
Or the ogres.
Dude is like 90 years old. He runs like you wouldn't believe.
And that's actually funny because it's actually easier to get participation with a Zerg because there's enough DPS that you'll kill something. Like, you'll tag something and the Zerg will kill something, even though you kill I
feel so sorry for Mesmers in this. Not having enough AoE to tag anything. Oh, I feel
staff, I guess. I mean,
I've been using
one skill.
Great Sword
well, your auto attack bounces and your 5 does AoE. I mean, you can share AoE.
I've been using the Great Sword.
It's not
Great.
It's not like my Ellie or... Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the Illusionary Berserker goes and whirls through them, and then you can drop the 3 AoE. The 2 skill bounces, and the 5 is a knockback, so you can knock some stuff off to damage and get credit at least on one mob.
Yeah.
I would say that, like, something, I don't know how easy or difficult it would be, but something even as simple as, like, if you res a dead NPC and or get the cheer them on or whatever, even just get 1 and a chance for 5 of the loot bags. Like, those things drop like candy from Zergs, and you'd still get quite a few doing it. That even 5, if you just got always 5, like, you're still not going to rescue. I don't know, five's quite a bit, I guess. It would be pretty easy to rescue 20 citizens over that time period, which would give you, 100 base plus the reward, but which is about how much you get in a Zerg, though. Yeah, I mean, it's like that, you could do that too. But
yeah, I mean, I easily get 160 to 200 bags.
Really?
Just zerging around.
Personally,
I usually get like 140 tops, but I'm on Yak Spend, so.
Anvil Rock has been surprisingly really, really good about doing these events.
Yeah.
So
Grimlock, you have in the show notes a pro tip for people playing the event. What is that?
Yeah, right. So you get the different levels of rewards for the different, X 100 citizens rescued, and everybody wants the 1200 because it gives you those yellow bags that can contain old drops. I've gotten a couple of them, and they were all garbage for me, which is, yet again another one of those problems with the rescuing citizens versus zerging is, even if your participation in rescuing gives everybody the bag, you can still get garbage from the bag, whereas zerging, you're going to get a lot of money. But anyway, it still keeps tracking citizens rescued after the miasma counter is full, and you have to start leaving. And so you can actually get 1200 after it tells you to start leaving Lion's Arch, as long as you are still alive in Lion's Arch, and you won't get the extra. There's 5 bags per tier that you've completed that you get at the bonus chest at the end, so you won't get those last 5 or however many it would be for what reward level you have. But if you are close to 1200, like if you're at 1100, a lot of the time you can get to 1200 if you can survive in the miasma long enough for those people to finish running away. And so definitely move towards an exit, heal up, try to avoid combat, and if you see any NPCs, do what you can for them. But for the most part, you can actually it is entirely possible to get the 1200 reward bag after you should be fleeing, and then if you stay near the exit, you'll be able to get out in a second or two anyway.
Or just die.
Or you can just die if you don't care. Yeah. So that's my pro tip. My other pro tip is that if you have a billion of these stupid spinal blade back pieces and you don't want the ascended one, this is still the cheapest way to get an exotic back piece. And you can mine all your metals so you don't have to buy them for exorbitant prices off the trading post, or you can just sit on it until after this patch ends and nobody's buying iron in mass anymore. Yeah. So I would keep them and just make exotic back pieces and hide them, or transmutation them, or whatever you want to do. It's it's free, easy, stat selectable exotics for 600 or 500-ish blades and 20 of each ingot.
That's really cheap.
That's not that is so cheap, and 10 of the dust of that tier. That is so cheap for getting to an exotic. Yeah. It's more than some exotic armors are now because of the crafting has made them so cheap, but you basically can't get exotic back pieces. So that's my other pro tip is even if you hate how it looks, it's still an easy exotic item to get if you don't have it. So
This is kind of a tangent, but is there anything else you can spend those spinal blades on if you don't want the back piece?
Nope.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Maybe I'll make one.
One more pro tip: if you're not going for the ascended back piece, or if you are and you still are drowning in the lost recovered items or whatever, it's only 100 for 100 and then 30 silver for a level up tome. And I bought the rest, or no, actually I didn't. But I've gotten like 7 level up tomes from this event just from getting that many of the lost bags. Like I'm gonna finish leveling my last profession to 80 like this week because just from stupid level ups. Yeah, so that's a great way to spend those if you don't have anything better to spend them on. I mean, if you care, if you don't have a million 80s like Kate.
I'm about
you don't have all the 80s.
That's just
wrong, Kate.
65.
Speaking of crazy things that Kate does, Kate, we are now at that time in the show where you say the words that we all want to hear.
Hello and welcome to Cast the podcast within the podcast about the cast of other podcasts with the style of cast of other podcasts. This week on Cast, I didn't botch the intro and I'm so proud of myself. Yeah, this week on CastCast, a shout out to Naveen who has left the Guild Wars 2 community. I'll throw a link to her goodbye in the chat. So best of luck to you, Naveen, for all your future endeavors, and best of luck to Chronicles of Materia. I know Legwin is taking over the stuff there, and you guys are fantastic, so keep it up.
Indeed.
Other than that, sorry, I'm trying to get my link here. On March 8th, which is like a week and a half away, I'm doing a march on Orr alongside Duke with a Heart on Anvil Rock on North America, and I believe Piken Square on EU. Not 100% sure. I think it was a different one. I'm probably saying the wrong one. Sorry, EU. I'll get it straight for next week. There's going to be a lot more promotion of that, so you'll for sure see that. But come and join us for that. We're going to be marching on the temples simultaneously, EU and North America, and we're trying to get some kind of synchronization going. We might be racing. We might be doing something. I don't know what we're going to do. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So come join us. Come Zerg things. And it'll be loads of fun. Also, Eric, are you going to play the video, by the way?
I will play the video. So give us a quick intro, and then I will play the video.
All right, so Foostival is coming up, and if you have no idea what Foostival is, it's a real-life and online celebration of the community spirit in Guild Wars 2 by getting people from different, like this year, previously it was only in France, but this year they're getting people together from across Europe to get together and celebrate community and Guild Wars 2, and it's coming up. There's going to be 15 fan sites participating, and it's going to be on the 22nd, and we do have a trailer for it. So, Eric.
There you go. You can check that out. They also have Facebook. I should switch back to that so you guys can see that. We will also give you... Oh, go ahead.
You can find them on Twitter at Foostival. You can find them on Facebook and G+ as well, so go follow them if you want to check that out. There's going to be coverage. I know a lot of us are obviously in America, and you can't participate in a Europe community event, but there will be online coverage of it throughout the day, and they're going to be involving the community, so don't feel left out if you are not in one of the countries that's getting together in real life. There's going to be stuff for you guys too, so check it out.
Very cool. And that is it for our show tonight. We will have a few things to talk about in post-show, but... thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at relicsofwar@gmail.com. Feel free to head on over to relicsofwar.com to the forums, and you can yell at us there. You can also tweet at us at relicsofwar, and yeah, that is how you get in contact with us. We hope to see you guys on our website yelling at us in various forums, either on comments and stuff. We have quite a bit of news that Wash posts up. And it was kind of a slow news week this week, but hopefully there will be floodgates next week, and it'll just be full of. Or this week.
I was gonna say I'm planning on writing probably a fairly long blog post at the after this next patch for the wrap up of season 1. So
there we go. So lots of things to keep your eyes on at relicsofwar.com. We hope to see you guys there as well as in game.